Okay, folks, I just finished having a run. It's pretty cold, but it's better than not having a run at all. I just thought I would mention, I said in my last video that I'm going to start uploading videos on my home renovations from my house that was damaged after I had tenants in it and then left. I'm going to put those videos on hold for about a month or so, and I'm going to upload another series I did a few years ago, a documentary I did for Channel 10 and Win TV on the Murray River. And in that documentary I took a boat from the bottom of South Australia, the bottom of the river at Goolwa, all the way up the Murray River, all the way to the top to where it starts, where the river starts in the mountains. And that's a distance of about 2,500 kilometers. So I thought I would upload that first, and then from there move on to my home renovation videos, which I'm in the middle of doing now. So we'll start off with the Murray River, the history of the Murray River, and we'll work through that, and then I'll circle back to the home renovation videos, and we'll do it in that order. So I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you soon. G'day folks, I'm Bill Gray and welcome to South Australia. Now right at this moment in time I'm sitting about 10 to 15 kilometres east of a small town on the South Australian coast called Goolwa. And this stretch of water that I'm standing in is right at the very end of one of Australia's most famous rivers, the Great Murray River. Now over the next 4 weeks or so I'll be travelling over 2,500 kilometres in the trailcraft here, right up into the far reaches of the Murray River. And then from there I'll be taking you by forward drive up into Australia's beautiful Kosciuszko National Parks, and then deep into the Snowy Mountains, where we'll be driving up rock ledges and through the rivers if the need be, all in the search of where this great river first begins as just a small trickle that flows from the side of a mountain. We'll be covering the history of this great river, and in its past, its hidden stories and untold secrets, along with its future and the very importance of its water, and all of this on one of the driest continents on Earth, our beautiful land of Australia. Well, we have over 2,500 kilometres to travel, a new trailcraft to take us there, a brand new Mercury outboard to power us a distance, and a whole mountain of stories to tell you all at home. So let's get a move on, hey? To my left here we have the small town of Goolwa, which was once one of the busiest river boat ports in the Murray. In fact, it was the first ever inland port in Australia. Now, Goolwa is a place where many famous Murray River paddle boaters were originally built. And at its busiest time, there were 4 boat companies here and as many as 27 paddle steamers and 2 barges. And they were built here when the town was at its busiest, in around 1880. And if you're wondering where the name Goolwa came from, it's Aboriginal for elbow. In the 1840s, when the small town was first surveyed, it was known as Town on the Goolwa, or Town on the Elbow, as it's situated on a large bend in the river. Its name was then changed to Port Pullen, but then later changed back to just plain old Goolwa. Now all around me now is Lake Alexandrina, which is a huge lake that is quite incredible.
You see, all the water from the Murray runs in and fills this whole area. And the whole water surface area that you see behind me is about 380 square kilometres in size. And the whole lot of it is only between 2 and 5 metres in depth, which means when the wind picks right up, it can be a very, very dangerous place to cross. And because of the huge amount of water that the area covers, and a distance from one safe spot to the other of only 25 kilometres, you can see why and how many small boats and paddle steamers have come to grief and sunk on this very lake behind me here and the one that we're about to cross. Now, just before we cross Lake Alexandrina, the area of land behind me there, and then just in a few kilometres, is known as the Coorong National Park. Now, one side of her backs onto the water's edge here, and the other side goes right up to the Southern Ocean. Now, right at the Murray River mouth, there's a small place called Baker's Knoll, and it was there in 1857 that a huge mast was erected. And on that mast was only the second flag in Australia to ever show the Southern Cross. Well, we've just crossed Lake Alexandrina with no troubles, and we're now about 76 kilometres from the river mouth. Now we're just going past the small town of Wellington now, and it was here that a man by the name of Frank Potts was known to have built the very first ferry over the river here in the mid-1840s. Before that, the drivers would bring their cattle from various parts of Victoria and South Australia, and they were said to have lost countless numbers of stock as they tried to swim across the river here with their herds. From one side to another, which is about probably 150-200 metres wide. So you can just imagine how tired the cattle and the horses and the men would have been after they tried to swim across such a large stretch of water. Plus sometimes it'd be a fast flowing current. So it was no wonder that a lot of the livestock was lost and drowned, and it was no wonder that the very first ferry on the river here was very warmly welcomed. Now just before it gets too dark, I'll show you this place behind me here. Now this is the first pumping station on the Murray River, and we're about 10 kilometres up from Wellington. Now the pumps here, they take water inland through South Australia for about 130 kilometres, and they irrigate about 1,750,000 acres worth of pastoral land. So it really is quite incredible, but you'll find over the next few weeks that the amount of water that this place takes out of the river is absolutely nothing compared to what we're going to see later on. Well, we're at one of the largest towns of the Murray River at the moment, which is called Murray Bridge. And it was back here before any of the bridges were originally built. It was just named after the first white settler who ever take his cattle across the river here, named Mr. Edwards. And because of that, the place we're at now, Murray Bridge, used to be just called Edwards Crossing. And it was a lot more favourable crossing here compared to the one back down at Wellington that we were at yesterday, about 20 or 30 kilometres back. Now the cattlemen were just like down at Wellington. They would swim their cattle across from one side to the other here, along with supplies and so forth from either side of the river. It was even said that once the men from the South Australian side were so desperate for their beer, they tied all their kegs down onto a big wooden horse cart and pushed it into the river. And then when it floated, hooked on a large piece of rope and dragged the whole lot across the other side, just so they could have their beer. So you know, the guys around here, they did some pretty crazy things for their alcohol. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, that way you'll get notified to all my new videos when I upload them. And if you want to contact me, you can do so through my website, the link's in the description below. See you next time.